Hi friends, a lot of people are asking me, ma'am, give me a plan. I have only 45 days left till CAT. So how do I crack CAT in only 45 days? So CAT 2025 is 45 days away. So how do we prepare for CAT with just 45 days in hand? So I'll be giving you a step-by-step guide, what you should prioritize, what you should do first, and how you should make the best use of the 45 days left. So let's get started. So first thing that I want you to understand is a priority order in which you should actually start your preparation. You should not start with like going alphabetically or going in any order. There should be some idea or strategy of what you should put first or what you should do first in each of the section. I'll tell you what is the highest priority in each section. Make sure you do those subjects, topics, whatever questions, etc. from these questions, these areas before you go to the lower, less important areas as such. So first, what is the most important topic in Quant? The most important topic in Quant is arithmetic. I'm sure I have said this like 100 times, but arithmetic is the most important topic when it comes to Quant. About 45% by weightage of the entire section is arithmetic. And often arithmetic questions are on the easier side. There'll be a few questions from arithmetic which are very difficult, which you're supposed to skip. But at least there'll be like 4 questions from arithmetic which are entirely doable and which you should prioritize. If you lose those questions, if you don't do those questions, your final marks and final score will be severely impacted. So while arithmetic alone is not sufficient most of the time, arithmetic is necessary. It is fundamental, it is a must do. So I always put it at the first. Arithmetic is the first in priority. Then what should be your second priority? See, your second priority could either be algebra or geometry depending on what is your particular strength. For a lot of engineers, I would say that do algebra plus logarithms. For a lot of non-engineers who struggle with algebra, I would say that go the other path, go to geometry first. But this is the second order for engineers. If you're an engineer or if you're not even a non-engineer who has a maths background, do algebra plus logarithms. You will have a basic understanding of both of them and you will actually have a competitive advantage in those areas as compared to the non-engineers. If you're a non-engineer who find longer expressions and algebraic expressions difficult to do, I would say rather go to geometry. Particularly if your visualization is good, if you have very good visualization skills, go to geometry. You'll be able to think in geometry much faster than your peers. So the second priority is between these. So the order can switch. If you're a non-engineer, geometry first, algebra plus logarithms second. If you're an engineer, algebra plus logarithms first, geometry second. This is the second priority. Algebra inequalities I have kind of hived off and kept it at a lower priority. The reason for that is algebra inequalities questions are harder, they are tougher, they are longer to solve. And it also is one of those things which takes a lot of time to solve and a lot of time to learn how to solve also. If you have only 45 days in hand, you have to prioritize what can I do first? What is the easiest, what is the most scoring section that I should do first? These are never very scoring. In fact, each inequalities questions in CAT would take you much more time than an arithmetic question would. For the same level of conceptual detail or same level of difficulty, I would always choose arithmetic over inequalities because an inequalities question will take me a minimum of 3.5 minutes. So for that, I have put it over here. Less scoring, tougher questions, tougher to learn also. But if you learn it once, it is not a very long syllabus or long portion. You just need to do a little bit of inequalities. But once the idea of inequalities is clear in your mind, you don't need to do much about it. But the questions continue to remain challenging. So I would say even in my attempt, I never do these questions first because they are lengthy questions. Now, what should be the next or I would say the lowest priority order when it comes to Quant? What are the lowest priority topics in Quant? So there is number systems, modern maths, functions and combinatorics, progressions and series. I'll explain for each one of them what is a high priority part, what is the low priority part. See, number systems is not entirely low priority. In number systems, HCF, LCM, divisibility of factors, cyclicity of factors, number of factors and sum of factors, these are important topics to cover. But in number systems, remainder theorems are less important. So I would say split this up into 2 parts. One is the non-remainder theorem part and one is the remainder theorem parts. The remainder theorems are very low priority. And generally the remainder theorems are actually the toughest part of it. They are very difficult to do. It requires a lot of thinking. And they are very low priority because direct application of remainder theorem has not been asked for quite some time. But the non-remainder theorem part, HCF, LCM, the divisibility, cyclicity of factors, the number of factors, sum of factors, they have been asked multiple times. So because of that, do those on priority. This is lower priority. Modern maths, functions, combinatorics. Functions are asked every year. Combinatorics is asked once in a while. But combinatorics also comes as part of DILR. So why did I put it down over here? Progressions and series, 2 questions are asked every single time. The reason I put it over here is, for a lot of students who are not very good at quant, these tend to be the toughest topics. So what a lot of students do is, this is very difficult, I'm not able to understand it, let me spend a lot of time learning. But they are tough questions, they are difficult questions. And in CAT, you have to prioritize what can I do. You don't have to solve all 22 questions. Ideally, if you are able to solve 16 questions out of 22, you will have a tremendous score. You will be 99.99 percentile in quant as such. So why focus on the things that you're bad at? Focus on the things you can be great at. That is something that you should understand. Even choosing to leave something strategically is not a bad idea, given that you have very limited time in your hands. I would say that look at the modern maths and combinatorics, look at their videos, see a few basic questions, have a basic idea so that if easy questions come from those topics, you are able to solve. But generally, from my experience, combinatorics, functions tend to be harder questions. They tend to be challenging questions because they are questions that a lot of students have not practiced. They are questions that a lot of students don't know intuitively. Combinatorics, particularly PNC, probability, a lot of people don't have an intuitive understanding of it and they struggle quite a bit in it. So for you to actually develop ability, it will take you a long amount of time, lot of practice, lot of effort for less weightage. It will take you more effort for less weightage and less reward. So whatever you do, you should say that how do I maximize my reward? These are low rewarding topics, keep it for last. I'm not saying don't do it, but do basic version of it, do minimal version of it, do basic easy questions from it so that if an easy question comes, you should not leave it. But focus more on this part where you should be able to do easy to difficult questions from this topic. Let's come to verbal. What is most important in verbal? A lot of people spend a lot of time in VA part, the verbal ability part, and less time on the RC part, the reading comprehension part. But that is the exact opposite of what you should be doing. These two things, para summary, reading comprehension, they are exact same. They are basically the same skill set. If you're good at reading comprehension, you will automatically do well in para summary. And these para completion, OC, para jumbles, theta para jumbles, they most of the time come in CAT, but sometimes one or the other might be removed. Sometimes they might remove OC para jumbles. They might sometimes remove theta para jumbles. Para completion has been introduced recently. So this is not a guarantee at all. Even if it will, whether it will come in CAT or not is not a guarantee. But these, they have always been there. 100% guarantee that they will definitely be there. So what should you do? You should prioritize that. Make sure that you are very good at reading comprehension. How do you get good at reading comprehension? Read a lot. Read a lot of RCs, practice a lot of RCs. Do RCs of different backgrounds, different contexts. There should be some economic RCs, some philosophical RCs, some scientific RCs, RCs based on art, culture, everything. The more broad-based attempts that you have, the more broad-based learning that you have, the better your ability will be to read an RC from a particular topic. If you read an RC from economics for the first time, you will suffer in that RC because you have no basic idea of the language, jargon, even basic supply demand concepts will not be there. So you will find it very difficult. But the same, if you do the 10th RC in economics, you will find it very easy to understand. The basic idea or concept will be there. So first thing that you have to do is you have to read a lot from a wide variety of sources. Secondly, practice 2 RCs every single day. If you don't do 2 RCs every single day, you will not be properly equipped to crack CAT. RCs are the core, the heart of VARC section. And the positive aspect of it is, if you do these are 16 questions out of 24 are RCs, 2 questions out of 24 are para summary. If you do well in this part, you automatically do well in the para summary part. You don't need extra effort in para summary. The effort that is needed for para summary gets done through reading comprehension itself. So essentially it is 18 out of 24, that is 2/3 of the section is just reading comprehension. So focus on that, get very good at that, become very, very capable at that. That should be the first thing that you do in your VRC section because it is the most important thing. Now when it comes to para completion, OC, para jumbles, I'm not saying they are not important, but they are less reliable. the error rate for these is generally extremely high. Why? Not for para-completion. Para-completion also you can have a decent accuracy in para-completion. But OSC para-jumble, Theta para-jumbles, the error rate is generally higher. So for this, you generally won't get the correct answer often. In reading comprehension, para-summary, para-completion, with practice, you can have very good accuracy. For the guys who have been working at this for over a year plus, they will have 80% plus accuracy. But even those guys will have very poor accuracy in OC parajumbles and Theta parajumbles. Why? Because they tend to be a bit random. At times, they can be a bit subjective. They are very prone to errors. So with that in mind, should you put your faith, your luck, your fate in the hands of OC or Theta parajumbles? I would not recommend that because they can be a bit arbitrary. So I would always trust this part over the bottom part. Now let's come to LRDIs. See, with LRDIs, there's no portion. There's no syllabus. There is like open-ended syllabus as such. So how do you practice for LRDI? So the thing that we did is we actually looked at every single LRDIs for the last many years. Wherever we have the CAT paper available, we just classified all the LRDIs. What we found is the most common type of LRDI is puzzles. Puzzles arrangements are the most common. Every single slot, every single CAT exam, at least one or puzzle or arrangement would come. The second most common type is table-based sets. Table-based sets are super common. Another type is charts-based set. And this chart-based sets generally, historically, tend to be the easiest set in CAT. If you look at every single previous year's paper, which is the easiest set in that previous year's paper? The charts-based set. So because of that, I always say prioritize these parts. If you become very good at this, you will at least be able to solve one set out of 5, if not 2 sets out of 5. If you have only 45 days in hand, you can't do the entire syllabus. What should you do first? Do this and do this repeatedly till it becomes imprinted in your mind. The pattern of how to solve linear arrangement should become imprinted in your mind. The pattern of how to solve puzzles should become imprinted in your mind. If it becomes imprinted in your mind that in linear arrangement, I have to show it this way. In linear arrangement, I have to make cases this way. Only then it will be solvable. Unless you are a genius who can suddenly think at the spur of the moment, figuring this out on the exam day in the exam center is very difficult. You should know exactly how to proceed for these kind of sets because these are very methodical. There's a method to it. There's a step-by-step way to solving this. So if you follow those methods, you will definitely solve these kind of sets. Make them a priority. It will help you tremendously. But apart from that, what is important? Quant-based LRs. Quant-based LRs, basically LRs, that is logical reasoning puzzles, which are dependent on quantitative logic. So based on number systems, based on PNC, based on like prime numbers. Prime numbers are very common. Based on divisibility. They come many times in the LRDI section. So if you're somebody who's good at quant, these will be a good fit for you because you already have those skills. You already might know which is a prime number, which is not a prime number. You might be able to list the prime numbers quickly. For you, those quant-based LRs would be the first pick. Then you have another set of like LRDIs which come often. Sets and Venn diagrams based sets. Scheduling, 2D and 3D puzzles, games and tournaments, team selections, routes and networks. So many of these I have arranged it according to the difficulty level. All of these come basically with the same probability. So the probability of getting a 2D or 3D space puzzle is the same as getting as a games and tournaments, is the same as routes and networks. But the reason I put it in this order is because this is the increasing order of difficulty. Sets and Venn diagrams, particularly 4-set Venn diagrams, tend to be easier than scheduling. Scheduling tends to be easier than 2D, 3D space LR puzzles. That tends to be much easier than games and tournaments. These are very difficult puzzles at times. Games and tournaments are notoriously difficult. Team selection is not difficult. It is very time consuming. So that's why I've kept it at the lower priority because these are tougher time consuming puzzles. Routes and networks are not necessarily difficult, but for some students, it is slightly difficult to visualize, and routes and networks are not very common. They come once in a while. So because of that, I have kept this order based on perceived difficulty as well as likelihood of being asked. So let's go that now that we know that this is the priority, this is how you should actually prepare. What should you do? How should you prepare? So if you're looking to make the best use of the 45 days, I would suggest take a look at Cracku's crash courses. We have a 45-day batch which will be the best fit for you, because in this 45 days we'll cover the syllabus, we'll give you access to the correct concept test. So you will see the concept video, you'll take the concept test immediately, your understanding of the syllabus will be completed, the full syllabus will be covered, and on top of that you will get access to a very good question bank with 22,000 questions where you can practice the questions. In addition to that, you will get mocks, sectionals that are taken by thousands of students. Most of the toppers take our mocks, and these are very high quality mocks with video solutions. Every mock we do the live attempt. So what happens is that you also get an insight into how to attempt those sets, how to take the first steps, how do you read the sets. All of that you will be able to see through our live attempts. So this is basically why I would say that take a look at the CAT 2025 crash course. In addition to that, we also have one-on-one mentorship. So a lot of people who have a lot of questions, how do I prioritize? How do I make it work? What should I do? What is if you have any doubts about how to go ahead and how to prepare for CAT, you can ask your mentor, you can call them, you can be in touch with them, and they'll be there to help you out with any CAT preparation related query. In addition to that, we have a very good doubts platform. In that doubts platform, you can ask doubt for every single concept video, every single question, everything you can ask a doubt, and a doubt manager will help you understand how that particular solution has been reached or how that particular formula was derived. They will help you with every single thing. So do check out our crash course. In addition to that, we also have daily live classes. So from 8 to 9 p.m., me and the other faculty take daily live classes. Maruti, I and many of the faculty members take daily live classes from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. So if you have any doubt about any topic, you can always come there and get those doubts resolved. Okay, so let's go to the course material that will be there in that crash course. So we always think of CAT preparation in three terms. First is learning, second is practice, third is test. A lot of other courses, other training pedagogies focus on this part, learning, seeing concept videos, seeing people solve. But I feel that this is the least important part of the CAT preparation. We have concept videos, we have live sessions. I'll be there helping you understand and learn how to solve. But the most important part of CAT preparation is over here. This is what is going to determine your score. A lot of students spend all their time with learn. They spend very little time with practice and test. So I have made a schedule for 45 days such that you give proper time for both practice and test and not spend the entire 45 days covering the syllabus. Because if you just spend time covering the syllabus, you're not going to be adequately prepared to take the exam come CAT. So I would say that the first thing always should be, you see the concept video, you understand the concept, but once you understand the concept, what do you have to do? You have to take the concept test. Practice is built into the learning part, because if you learn without practicing, you're not going to learn properly. You're not going to remember the formula unless you apply it immediately. So for learning, we have the concept videos and the live sessions. For the practice part, there is the study room. Study room is basically a question bank. We have 22,000 questions organized by topics in an adaptive format. So as you solve them, more and more tougher questions will be given to you. So what happens through this is that you will get a good sense of all the questions that are there in a topic. And as you actually progress in that particular study room test, the questions become tougher and tougher, and they will really test you. So if you solve 50 questions in the study room, you have seen a large number of questions, you have seen a very difficult questions, you have progressed by solving. In addition to that, in practice also, we have something which is called as daily target. This is taken by a large number of students. On an average, every single day, 10,000 students take the daily target. It is a very popular, very widely taken test by a lot of students. A lot of students take daily targets every single day. These are high quality questions. They are exact CAT level, not below CAT level, not above CAT level. Exact CAT level questions where you have video solutions. So every single day you will get 5 questions in Quant, 5 questions in LRDI, 5 questions in VARC. And these are exact CAT level questions with video solution to make sure that your practice goal for that day is met. So do check out the practice part. And the last part, which a lot of people, I would say, avoid for fear, is the mocks and sectionals part. The testing part is basically you test yourself. The testing part is basically you test yourself by taking a lot of mocks and sectionals. A lot of students are afraid of mocks. For some reason, they get like very scared about mocks. They don't take them for many days. They leave it for the last. Even good students I know who are not happy with taking mocks or taking sectionals. But this is a super important part. If you don't do enough mocks and sectionals, you'll be unprepared for the stress of the exam day. You'll be unprepared with an exam strategy. You'll be completely unprepared for the like physical fatigue and stamina that is required for the exam. This exam is not an easy exam. It seems just a 2-hour exam, but in that 2 hour you will be completely drained. It is extremely stressful and difficult to stay fully concentrated for 2 hours. You can't like keep your switch off your brain for even a second there. 1 minute of like being distracted can completely hurt your chances in one of the sections. So therefore you have to be fully switched on for the entire 2 hours, and it is difficult to do that. To do that, you have to solve lots of mocks, lots of sectionals. So you become used to being this hyper aware, hyperactive in those 2 hours. So solve a lot of tests. Do not ignore this important part of your preparation. So these are the 3 parts: learn, practice, and test. So how do we get this, all of this done in just 45 days? So what I have put in front of you is a schedule for 45 days. So in 45 days, how do we cover the syllabus, practice questions, and get the mocks done? So in the first 20 days, I want you to focus on covering the syllabus. So for Quant, it is see all the videos from arithmetic, algebra, and logarithms. For the non-engineering guys, you can say that this is or geometry. Okay, make sure that you complete these videos and you solve 50 questions from each of the arithmetic topics and 50 questions from the each of the algebra topics. You can leave inequalities for later because, as I said, it generally tends to be a less important topic than linear equations, quadratic equations, tougher questions. You can leave it for later. But the other parts of algebra and all the parts of arithmetic, don't leave any single thing. All parts of arithmetic, do 50 questions from profit and loss, 50 questions from ratio proportion, 50 questions from averages, 50 questions from percentages. Do every single one of them and do 50 questions from linear and quadratic equations, and if possible from inequalities. If you do this would mean that you are able to solve half of the quant paper. This would mean that you are capable of solving half of the quant paper. This is the first step that you should take. Now coming to VARC. I want you to first see all the RC videos. We have covered the entire portion in terms of RC. We have classified of how to read the RC, how to approach the RC, how to read different types of RC. So if it's analytical RC, persuasive RC, how do you actually read different types of RCs? And how do you actually understand the main point? How to answer certain specific questions from RCs, like would the author agree with this? Would the author disagree with this? What would strengthen the statement? What would weaken the statement? Make sure you see all of those videos because I offer specific pointers of how to actually answer those kind of questions. If you understand that what is being asked, what is being expected of you, your ability to answer those questions becomes much higher. In addition to that, it is only 45 days, so I want you to prepare on war footing. So because it's only 45 days, I'm going to ask a lot of you, but I want 5 RCs a day. If you do 5 RCs a day, it is intensive. It is like very, very difficult to do 5 RCs a day. But it will make you very used to doing 4 RCs. Because if you push yourself to do 5 RCs, the actual cat has only 4 RCs. 4 RCs will not seem like a tiring thing to do. But if you do only 1 RC at a time or 2 RCs at a time, when you are presented with 4 RCs, by the 3rd RC, your mind will start to wander. You will not want to read it. You won't be able to read it properly. So always do 5 RCs a day. Push yourself from the first day so that you get very used to sitting and reading for extended periods of time. If you are not tired by 5 RCs, you will not be tired by CAT exam. The next is for LRDI. What do we do? As we identified, these are the most important types of LRDIs: arrangements, puzzles, tables, and charts. Do 10 sets of each type. So I'm asking for only 40 sets. So 40 sets of LRDI. This is 55 into 20. So this is 20 RCs. And this is 50 questions of each from each topic. So this would be around, I would say, 200 plus 300, something like 300 to 350 questions. 350 questions plus 100 RCs plus 40 LRDI sets is a lot. I know that it is a lot of work, but we have only 45 days left. So you need to put in at least 4 hours every single day. If you put in 4 hours every single day, this will be done. you will be able to cover this. You will be able to see all the videos plus solve all the questions. So please put in 4 hours every single day for 45 days. Just 4 hours every day. 8 o'clock to 12 o'clock in the evening after your work is done. Or in the morning, wake up early. Start early, say at 5 a.m. 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. Get it done in the morning itself. But 4 hours every single day consistently for 45 days can be done. And if you do it, this will be covered. Let's go to the next 15-day schedule. So now that you have covered the topics, most of the important topics, what else should you do? The second part for this geometry, algebra, switching is there for engineer, non-engineer. But basically in the next 15 days, cover the rest of the quant videos. And I want you to do 100 questions from geometry and 30 from each of the remaining topics. So 30 from modern maths, 30 from functions, 30 from probability. All of those do 30 questions. Why 30 questions? Because then you will be able to solve the easy questions. If there are easy questions from probability, you should not leave that topic. You should not leave those questions in the CAT exam. So do the easy questions, do some questions from all of this so that you are able to target at least the easy questions from each topic. So now let's come to the verbal part. In verbal part, now we come to the VA portion, that is verbal ability portion. So that's our para summary, para completion, para jumbles, theta and OC. So here I want you to do 20 of each. 20 of each is not a lot. There is basically, there are 15 days, there are 60 questions, that's 4 VA questions per day. So 60 questions of this plus 2 RC every single day, 15 days, so 30 RCs. Not a whole lot to do in verbal right now, but consistency is key. See, in verbal, you won't see improvement on the first day or on the second day. But if you continue to do RCs every single day for an extended period of time, if that consistency is there, then the advantage is the improvement compounds over time. So I don't want you to stop your RCs. Make sure that you do at least 2 RCs every single day because consistency is key in this. The last part in LRDI. I want you to now take a look at all the other types of LRDI sets and do 5 sets of each type, not 10 sets, 5 sets of each type. Make sure that you know each of those different types of LRDI sets that are there, see the videos, see how to approach them and do 5 sets of each type. In addition to that, I want you to do 5 additional sets of puzzles, arrangements, tables and charts. The idea is that you should never lose touch with the most important parts. So you should continue to solve questions from the most important part so that you don't lose touch with them. And you should cover the syllabus, you should see the videos and do 5 questions from all the smaller parts of the syllabus. This would mean that by the 35-day mark, you have completed the entire syllabus, you have practiced the most important topics extensively, and you have done some of the lesser important topics at least partially. So now you have covered the syllabus, you have some idea about all the questions, how to approach them, and you are slightly at least at a moderate ability level with the most important topics in each of the sections. Now what should you do in the last 10 days? This is in fact the most important part. A lot of people won't do this, but the person who does this is going to do well in CAT. Now why do I say that? So I'll tell you my own story. So when I gave CAT for the first time, it was in 2007. This was my first attempt. I had not a lot of idea of how to prepare for CAT. At that particular attempt, what I did was before CAT, I was reading the books. I was reading the syllabus. I was reading formulas. Because you have that thought in your mind that I should not miss a formula. I should not miss a concept as such. I should revise all concepts because that is how we have studied till now, right? For any exams, we have mugged up the formula before the exam. But that is completely useless for CAT. In CAT, what you really need is speed and accuracy. So before CAT, you should just be solving questions. You should be entirely in the zone of solving questions. So I made the mistake of just focusing on concepts, formulas before the exam. And it was very difficult for me to solve questions on the CAT day. Not because I didn't know how to solve them, but I was not in the zone to solve them. Mentally, I was answering questions very slowly. I was very slow in my calculation. I was very slow in reading the question also. So I was not smooth. The process of solving questions was not smooth. The second time I gave CAT, when I cracked CAT, was in CAT 2008, when I got 99.91. In that year, what I basically did was, before CAT, I took a leave from my office and the entire day I used to sit and used to just solve questions. I solved all the previous year's papers. I solved like hundreds of questions. And that is essentially what was the difference between my first attempt when I got 99.31 and the second attempt when I got 99.91. The difference was how many questions I solved. and how many questions I solved just before the CAT exam. Before your CAT exam, 10 days before your CAT exam, you should solve like crazy. You should be in this full zone that I'm just solving questions. So how do you solve questions? You should be in this full zone that I'll just solve questions. So how do you solve questions? How do you get into that zone of solving as many questions as possible? That is where basically mocks and sectionals and study room come in. So what I want you to do is, I'll tell you what the mock strategy should also be. In the first 20 days, I want you to take a zero prep mock. A zero prep mock is basically a mock which is taken with zero preparation. That is basically saying that, let me see how many questions I can solve without any preparation. You'll not do well in this mock. The point is not to do well in that mock, but just to get a sense of where you stand. So before you actually become healthier, before you like start exercising, you will still do like your blood test, you will take your measurements before you start your journey towards health, right? So it's something like that. This is your before and after. This is like the before picture. It is going to be a bad one, but you should not worry, because this is the point at which you have to start. It will give you a sense of what you need to work on. After that, in the first 20 days, I want you to take 3 mocks, and not just take 3 mocks, you have to analyze them. You have to understand where you made a mistake. You have to understand that, okay, I didn't solve this question. I wasn't able to solve this question because I didn't know the formula. I'll see that formula, I'll revise that particular topic. Then I'll get a better sense of how to solve the questions. But you might ask, ma'am, it's the first 20 days. I haven't covered the syllabus. How can I take the mock without covering the syllabus? You need not cover the syllabus. If you cover just this much, you will be able to do at least 50% of the questions in each of the section. And if you do 50% of the questions in each of the section, then you will be able to get 99.99 percentile. It's just 50% in each of the section. So always remember, you have to take mocks not after you have completed the syllabus, but along with covering your syllabus. You have to take it along that entire journey. It is not done at the end of the journey, but throughout the journey. Okay. So take 3 mocks in the first 20 days. In the next 15 days, take 3 more mocks. So you have completed, say, 7 mocks now. 1 zero prep mock plus 6 actual mocks, along with analysis. And now in the last 10 days, what I want you to do is that take as many mocks as possible, as many mock sectionals as possible. Sectionals are basically one section test. So for a lot of students, taking all 3 sections in one go is difficult. So they would prefer to actually give one section at a time. So for them, sectionals are a godsend. Also, for those who are very weak in one particular section, how should you prepare for CAT? Take a lot of sectionals of that one section. Now, the point over here should always be to remember that when you're taking these mocks and sectionals, you have to take the mock, you have to see the mock. At the end of the mock, you have to say that I solved these questions. These are my areas of strength. If these are my areas of strength, I should see that whenever I'm solving the next mock, I prioritize those questions. Then you say, I was not able to solve these questions. So I should go and revise those concepts. I should solve more questions from that topic. So in mocks, I should be able to solve those questions as such. So then you have now something to do. From mocks and sectionals, you get an idea of what you need to work on. Based on that, you have identified this is my weak area. From that, you go to the study room. So if I have identified that, okay, quadratic equations is my weak area, I go to the study room and I will do 20 questions from quadratic equations. Suppose all of arithmetic is difficult for me. All of arithmetic I did very slowly. What should I do? I should go to study room and I should do 100 questions from arithmetic. In the study room, we have a new feature which is called the Quant rush feature, okay? Which is basically you can solve questions, mixed questions. You can say, I want to do all arithmetic or all algebra or all modern maths. You will then be able to do questions only from these areas. Or you can ask that I want to do questions from all the topics combined. So then you will get a ability to like pick which topics you want to focus on. Do 100 questions from all the weak topics. It will not remain a weak topic as such. So then you will say that, okay, I worked on my areas of weaknesses. I'll go back and I'll take another mock. Now again, this mock you see, how did I do? Did I do better than the last time? What are my weak areas now? What are the sections that I'm weak in? Okay, I identified these weak areas. I go back to the study room and I practice from the study room again. Keep doing this. This is a cycle that you should do obsessively for the next 10 days. By the end of the 10 days, you will be a question solving machine. If you're a question solving machine, I think of it that is the objective. You should be an unemotional question solving machine where nervousness doesn't touch you, where anxiety does not affect you. You just look at the question, you start solving the question without thinking that, can I do it? Will it be done? You don't think of anything. You just go so much into that zone of solving that you just start solving without, before you know it, the answer is there. So I want you to focus on becoming like that by the end of the 10 days. On that 10 days, you should just solve like crazy. If you do that, on the day of November the 30th, you will be solving so many questions. You will be able to solve all the questions without any emotions, without the fear, without anxiety, without nervousness. The key to cracking CAT is basically to overcoming those emotions of self-doubt, and there is no better way of overcoming the emotions of self-doubt than practice. This will make you think of yourself differently. This will make you think of yourself as somebody who can crack CAT, and that confidence will carry you through on the CAT day. So make sure that you do this. So this is basically my 45-day plan for cracking CAT. 45 days is not a lot of time. You have very little time in your hands. You can't afford to waste a single day. Now, if that is the case, I would obsessively work on CAT. I would work on CAT every single day for 4 hours, 5 hours, whatever it took to actually convert CAT. A lot of people say that, ma'am, ho nahi raha hai, I'm not able to focus, I'm not able to sit for extended periods of time. But you have to basically tell yourself, okay? You have to tell yourself that success in CAT is entirely in your hands. For a lot of people, whether they will get a particular job or not is not entirely in their hands. How well they do in a particular exam, sometimes it is not entirely in their hands if the teacher is not good or X, Y, Z reasons are there. But here, nothing like that is stopping you. You have access to a very good course. You have exactly what you need to crack CAT. Now it is entirely in your hands to actually do it. So what should you do? Should you make excuses? Should you say that, no, it is very difficult? No, you should do everything that you can to crack CAT. So with that, I will leave you and best of luck. I have a lot of belief in how dedicated my students are, how capable my students are. And I know that many of you are going to crack CAT and get into the top IIMs. So best of luck and make the best use of the last 45 days.